welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with some Blades in the Dark today. So before we dive back into the chaos that was last week, please check out all the links that are currently coming up in chat now. That includes a link to the Discord, where we do have a chat purely for this game. We'd love to hear what you think. Also, if you want to get into one of the games, we have lots of viewer games at the moment. Go and drop Scrat a DM on Twitter. I believe we are bringing more shows to the channel with everything that is going on at the moment. Also, if you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube and catch up over there. Otherwise, I just want to do a quick mention to our wonderful sponsors who we could not do this without. First of all, in the form of Hero Forge, you can see the 3D printed color minis, which look absolutely amazing, and I won't out Scratch again. So I'll do that. That's very, very fab. We're going to be doing some more stuff with them in future. Also, the wonderful Deck of Many. The Deck of Many Things and the Magic Moving Spell Cards. I have altered these slightly, so if you want to donate to this, it will actually affect the game in that sense. And also the adorable Humblewood campaign, which is one of our viewer games you can see after the show today. Last but certainly not least, Dark Matter. If you love space and you love D&D, you smush them together and you get this beautiful thing, and I love it very, very much. So please go check that out as well. Otherwise, let's head round and say hello to these lovely people. First of all, I will say the lovely Nassim or Nazgul is not here this week, but please go check them out as well. They do some seriously wonderful things, and all their links will go in chat. Otherwise, we will start with our 2 for 1, because I'm going to be calling you by your character names now. Dabo or Dabu. Dabo. I know it's Dabo. Sorry.
It is Dabo 2 for 1. Hello, everybody. How are you? Yes, like most of you can find me right here, and that's about it. They closed the casinos, so I literally have nothing to do. Like literally nothing to do until July. So, if anybody wants to come visit me on the castle, you're more than welcome. I'm just in a total like black hole of a gaze these last couple days. So here we come to escape into this beautiful game. I'm looking forward to the banter with Blue, my homegirl. And other than that, I hope we have a good time. I played Dabo 2 for 1. Mic drop. That's all that needs to be said.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And then we're going to hop down to our lovely Spurs. Oh, hi.
Hello, my name is Simon, aka at Lucha Libris on Twitter, and today I will be once again playing Spurs, the Cutter.
Fantastic. And then we're going to hop over to our said lovely Blue. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. I was going to say, Dabo, have you not considered filling your need by opening an illicit casino, maybe in a friendly neighborhood vacant cathedral? Anywhere. My name's Tiffany. I'm playing Blue, our resident Lush and Slide.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Rajani. Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Izza, or Evil Clever Dog on Twitter and Instagram, and I play Rajani, the Whisper, who ended last session with a creature with eyeballs on its hands touching her hands, which was great. So yeah, excited.
And that is exactly where we will jump straight back to. As you're holding hands with this creature, you can feel the eyes in your palms blinking, and that voice in your head of all of these eyes darting about, some blinking, some staring. And who was furthest to the back of the group? Was it Blue, 2 for 1, or Spurs? I don't remember.
I think it was me. I'm standing against the back wall next to Odessa.
Okay. As you are standing there and you're watching this, you can see Spurs and 2 for 1 with their hands on their weapons, sort of keeping an eye on this creature, and Rajani. And for a moment, you feel like something's tugging at your sleeve. And as you turn and look, you see the panic of Odessa as she looks like she starts to fade, as if and the bat screeching and squawking as she's grabbing at you. Her mouth is moving and no words are coming out.
she's fading, like dissolving.
She's fading.
I'm gonna grab for her.
You sort of grab through
As
and you
quickly
grab
as I
onto
can.
nothing. What you do grab is this screeching bat as it's sort of flapping about madly and latches itself onto you.
Draco, I'm
she-
trying to help. I'm like fending him off and hoping that the others hear me because I'm like screaming at this point.
Yeah, if you scream, Spurs definitely whips around.
Yeah, Spurs, you see that last moment as Blue is sort of almost wrestling with this bat, and Odessa looks to you very wide-eyed and fades from existence.
Can I attempt to make a move as that happens?
You can.
So I have an ability called Ghost Fighter, and Ghost Fighter, I'll put it in the chat, allows you to use melee weapons or tools with spirit energy. You gain potency in combat versus the supernatural. You may grapple with spirits to restrain and capture them. So I assume she's going to be fading away as a hard move, but Spurs is still going to attempt to grab the spirit or do something to it to like, hey, get off. And what that looks like is, so he, as we've seen before, we can't see them as much now, but his body is covered in like weird Severosi tattoos, and he whips around, sees this scene happen, and says, in the name of the flame, you will not take her. Flexes his hands, and his skin glows like metal that's been shoved to a furnace. So his hands just get really like hot yellow and white towards the edges, the colder red, and he dives at the spirit. Doesn't even go for a weapon, just like goes to like grab it, and tries to like wrestle it off.
Okay, roll. Hang on. Where is it?
Cool.
What would you like to roll purely on how you're doing this? How you're actually like, is you're wrestling or are you trying to be quick? Which one are you know?
I feel like it's probably a skirmish because he's just trying to get her.
I was going to say,
like,
are you trying to grab hold of her and rip this off, or are you?
He's trying to pull the spirit off itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Which probably means that she will still disappear, but
don't know.
I assume that is risky.
It is risky.
Okay. With standard effect?
Standard effect.
Great. So it's a 4.
Okay. On a 4, as you sort of dive toward this thing, Blue, you see it briefly as you're trying to wrestle with this bat. You see Odessa's sort of head roll back and her eyes go back into her head as she passes out. You see her start to materialize again as Spurs almost just throws his hand through what looks like this shadow and grips and pulls. And Spurs, from where you are, you can see these long tendrilled fingers, very much like the one upstairs, gripping around Odessa, both the face and like around the waist, as if trying to pull her into somewhere, even though there's nothing around. And you can feel it, you can feel that heat, and you can smell that sort of rotten egg smell again, that sulfur, as you do. And Blue, you see, as Spurs does this, sort of wrestling with this creature, as he sort of glows like hot metal, almost blindingly so. You feel the heat itself.
Wow.
And Odessa materializes again. Knees buckle, and she falls crashing down to the floor.
Can I try and catch her?
Oh, absolutely, I'll say you'll be
And
able to
grab
catch
onto
her
her? Okay.
anyway. You're definitely close enough to sort of. You catch her in a slump, like underneath her arms,
Yeah.
as she sort of falls. And Spurs, you can feel this thing fighting you, and you hear it screech with that hiss of that burn, as now this thing starts to disappear.
I want to try and drag Odessa away towards Rajani as Spurs deals with the ghost. So I'm just going to kind of like pull her along behind me.
Okay. You manage to drag her out of the way. The bat is now following you across the ceiling as it screeches, trying to get away. And Spurs, at that moment, as you think you've managed to contain this thing, 2 for 1, that's when you hear it first, that explosion somewhere down in the catacombs, that scream of those people, and what sounds like hundreds, if not thousands, of pattering footsteps running, clawing, dragging against stone, as there's a moment of this huge gust of wind that hits you. And Rajani, you hear this as if like you're underwater, like it's muffled, like you can barely hear it, as this voice is talking to you. And there's a moment where everything goes quiet, and you hear that as things start to scurry. And you can feel almost as if the catacombs are shaking. You notice that the dust is sort of trickling from the top of the ceiling. And you can hear that galloping, this screeching, this yelling, as whatever it is comes charging down this corridor. And you can hear these things. What would you like to do?
Has the spirit I was holding hands with reacted at all or done anything?
You can feel its grip tighten, whispering those voices towards you, hello raiders, and all of these eyes sort of suddenly snap open wide, and they look to you, and you hear that voice in your head again, that run.
So I think what Dabo is going to do is step in front of Rajani, because I think even the things happen to Odessa, I know Spurs is handling it. Dabo remembers Rajani saying she's going through some weird things too, and now she's holding the hands and talking to something. So I think my attention would have really stayed on her. I would have kept looking back, but I don't want to lose. Like, apparently I feel like all of a sudden Rajani and I are now a team. Where she goes, I'm going. But once I hear that skittering, I have a bottle of whiskey on me. So I'm effectively gonna just start to smash it and just like pour it all on the ground where the corridor is, and be like, we gotta go. And I'm gonna light it on fire and try to create, whatever catches on. It doesn't matter. We're in catacombs that are to a hidden passage space, right? Yeah. So my intent is to burn this and cause something to either collapse or fall apart or make some sort of barrier that buys us some time to get back to the other direction.
Could you roll a wreck for me, please, as you eventually try to destroy the pathway around you? And this is a risky situation.
What do I do? What's a wreck? There's a wreck. No dots.
Yeah, if you have no dots, you.
What can I do to get some bonus dice here? I can stress myself.
Stress. You
can
stress.
take 2 stress.
All right, so I'll do that. And so, what does that give me? What do I put in the boxes here? It's risky.
Oh, sorry. Can I aid?
Yes, you can. How would you aid?
How would I have?
For storyteller's sake.
Yes. Well, I also smoke, so I can light it as he pours the whiskey. I will have to drop poor Odessa. I'm gonna set her on the ground, like face down, which I feel a little bad about. But I'll be back to her in a second because I was dragging her towards Rajani and Dabo.
Okay. Yes, you can. So that's an extra dice. So
I have 2 bonus dice then?
Correct.
1 from stress, 1 from the assistance.
And this is a risky position, and the effect is standard because you're trying to...
Okay, stand by. Let me read here. Cancel this. So I'm going to click wreck. Risky, got it. Standard, got it. Bonus dice 2, got it. What I do?
Okay. There's this moment, Rajani, where you can hear it like it's in slow motion. You hear those scurries. You hear what sounds like snapping, crushing bones as something is running down this corridor towards you. This many-eyed creature is in front of you, and all of its eyes wide, as if they've snapped open. And there's a moment where you hear that glass smash, and Blue flicks that cigarette towards 2 for 1, and you feel that heat as it licks all the way up around the side of these catacombs. And Dabo, as you see this bizarre creature. You've only seen one of these once before, this like bone demon, this thing made completely up of skeletal bits and pieces, and you notice as it's running and almost punching holes in the wall to run and scurry along the wall, it's taking the bones from these catacombs and adding it to itself, getting bigger and bigger, and these bizarre creatures, these wisps of smoke, almost shadows again, seem to be weaving in and out of it. And you can see in this smoke a face, a human face, as it reaches out, its mouth stretching to go towards you as this flame engulfs it. Spurs, you've obviously seen this. You watch Blue run, you watch them smash the bottle, and this creature itself has sort of dispersed, almost like smoke in your hands, letting go of Odessa. What would you like to do?
So there's this big thing that's barreling down on us.
Yes, and it's getting bigger with each bone it picks up.
It's like a Destructicon that just keeps adding pieces to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Goodness. Well, I think Spurs is like yelling at everyone, like, get back, get back. We're not technically on a job, so we never really decided what load we have. Let's do it this way.
I thought you
Spurs
decided
goes
when we split up before. So when Blue and Dabo went somewhere and you and Rajani went down to the dock area, I thought we decided. I remember saying what load I had. I thought you did too.
Were those jobs?
When we went out, that's when we were talking about what load do we have, and I said, "Oh, this is what I'm carrying," and I clicked it on my sheet. I thought you guys did too. I could be mistaken. I don't know. But I guess it's safe to assume whatever you would have had for that.
Sure. Yeah. I think in that case, it's probably going to be a hand weapon. So I'm going to tick one of my things that I have. Spurs goes under his coat, and the thing that he's been going for this whole time, which he hasn't pulled out, now he does unsheath. It's a long, very finely crafted cavalry saber. It's maybe 4 feet long, and it's fine quality because it's got a really beautiful basket hilt, and it's got Eruvian runes carved into the blade itself. So as he unsheaths it, part of that heat transfers from his hands into the blade, so his hand is no longer glowing. The blade is now this like super hot spectral thing. So he pulls it out and braces for impact. He just like stands there stoically, like waiting for this thing to come out. It's sort of like that scene in The Dark Knight where the Joker's like, "I want you to hit me," when Batman's coming at him with the motorcycle. So he's just waiting, like under his breath, mumbling something to himself.
You take that stance, and I will say both 2-for-1 and Blue, you see these things coming. Yes, the fire is slowing, or it looks like almost like the shadows down, bizarrely, almost like it's absorbing the air from where it was. The fire is taking up the oxygen and the air in this catacombs, and it is starting to get harder to breathe because you are underground. However, this huge bone demon-like creature is sort of thundering through these flames, and I will say 2-for-1 because you're closest. You see like it's almost prowling like a cat as it looks like it's about to jump right in the direction where this many-eyed creature and Rajani are.
Have I, by this point, like snapped out of...
You're kind of hearing it almost at a distance. You're seeing it almost like it's in slow motion, and there's a moment you realize you're looking at it as if it was through multiple eyes, and you realize you've almost connected with this creature, and you are looking from all angles at these flames and at this almost kaleidoscope of this bone creature running down the corridor towards you.
I'll Rajani's wearing her mask, so they wouldn't see her facial expression, but beneath her mask, her eyes kind of widen as she snaps out of this almost trance-like state. And her instinct is to grip the hands of this many-eyed creature tighter and try to pull it with her and say, "You will run with me," and try to like pull it back with her.
You hold on to it firmly. You can feel it resisting. And there's a moment where you pull it and it starts to fall forwards, almost running with you. And Dabo, what are you doing as this happens?
I kind of imagine, so Dabo will back out his 2 pistols, and he's not very bravado. I kind of read that character as someone who moves and slides. So what I envision right now is Spurs has come up with the saber, and Dabo's kind of like going to like shift around him and take tactical shots. If you ever seen Advent Children, when Cloud and Vincent Valentine fight together, and Cloud's cone the thing, and Vincent Valentine, and they're technically retreating, and Vincent Valentine's. I kind of envision that's how this scene's going to go. So I'm going to open fire as soon as I can, as I withdraw a little bit, and let Spurs kind of take that melee lead.
You start to pull back, firing as you go. I would say you can just fire off these shots as this thing is big. You sort of manage to sort of duck, not behind, like just to the side of Spurs, almost behind, and you can move around him. Blue, what are you doing?
Let me just say that I will always be between Rajani and this creature, going for Rajani, because to me it looks like it's going for Rajani because we don't see the eye monster, right? Right. So
Yes.
that's let me just state that I will never retreat further than Rajani.
Rajani, you can be dragging this thing back, and the rest of you see her literally with her hands out pulling as if you're pulling an imaginary rope. But Blue, you watch as 2 for 1 and Spurs take this stance. Odessa is face down on the floor, and Rajani is backing up.
Yeah. How big is Draco? He can't like carry somebody.
He can't necessarily carry it, more because he uses wings, and in this space,
right,
he can't open his wings fully.
So before I do anything else, I want to get Odessa out of here. And so I'm gonna gesture for Draco to come with me. I'll shoot Spurs and Dabo kind of a parting glance, but they seem confident. This is why we keep them around. So I think they're on top of it. And I'm just gonna try and carry Odessa back out to Thomas, who I figure either he can guard her, or if the sounds sound desperate, I can ask him to like come down and help.
Okay, you start to drag her up the steps and through that trapdoor. You can see Thomas sort of squatting down, but in the back room now. He doesn't normally come in here, but he's obviously heard this commotion, and he looks at you and looks at Odessa and reaches down and puts an arm around her middle and starts pulling her up out of this. And he looks at you. What's going on?
The usual explosions, giant, ever-growing bone monster. Just keep Odessa safe. And then I'm gonna turn and head back down.
You remember you've got wards up here, right? And he starts to drag Odessa back out of the room, back into the bar.
And I'll just yell back, yes, they've proven very useful.
And you head back down.
Yeah.
Rajani, Blue, you walk back down, and you can see Rajani now behind Spurs and 2 for 1. And there's a moment where Rajani, you can feel these hands of this creature slipping away, almost as if they're getting smaller and smaller. And you feel for a moment 2 very soft feminine hands as you are holding the hands of that woman from beside the canal, as she looks wide-eyed, and you can see fear. And it's almost like with that other explosion, you all feel another gust of wind come down. You see the flame sort of belch out the side of the corner, and with this, Rajani, you see her waft away as if she was a breeze.
Okay.
And you can't feel her anymore.
Okay,
Now,
okay.
sorry, go on.
I was going to say that's it. She would immediately turn her attention to the creature and also pull out her pistol.
Okay. One by one, we will start with Spurs. I want you to describe to me what this looks like as you see this huge bone, this mass of just skeletal features, both human and something else. You can smell that sulfur, you can feel that heat. It almost feels as hot as your blade, Spurs. You stand there with that stance, and you've noticed it's got so big, it's now almost having to pull itself down this catacomb. It's not just galloping anymore, it's pulling on the ceiling and the walls as it charges towards you. What would you like to do, Spurs?
Spurs braces for the charge, and the second it swings, he wants to try and sidestep and then just come back down and just engage it on its own terms. It's like, here it comes, step, strike, and then just with it. Ultimately, his goal is to do like a fighting retreat, but in this moment, he just wants to let it know that, like, he's here to fight it until it stops, or until he has to stop.
Could you roll me a skirmish, please? And this is risky.
Cool. I'm gonna push myself, and I have potency against, so whatever effect I would normally have, it would go up by 1. So would it be limited or standard effect?
I'm gonna say standard because of what this thing is.
Okay. So it would be, I would normally have standard effect, or I would normally have limited effect.
You'd normally have limited. You're now
yeah.
standard. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yep. Cool. Well, that's 2.
Okay. You sort of, at that moment, you sidestep, and as you do this, what looks like a long, sort of almost like spine, but this tail lashes out at the side. Yes, your sword comes crashing down, and you can hear that screech. But as it does, it swings this huge tail out and sends you crashing down more towards the flames down the other end of the tunnel, so that you are now behind it effectively as it looks at the others, but it lashes out and sends you more the distance than actual pain. It's like it's trying to get rid of you. So
yeah, just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, you sort of skid, you've got all that dust, it kicks up, and you can feel those flames behind you. 2 for 1. What are you doing at this point?
Well, I think I would have been holding shots how I said I envisioned it for when that particular instance happens. So that's, now there's an attack of opportunity. I think as soon as it draws its attention or it's going for it, maybe I'm just low this time. Maybe that's when I would take my shots at it. So I'm just trying to intercept any of its attacks on any of us.
Yeah, roll a skirmish for me.
Skirmish?
Risky and limited.
Well, that's brawl. Isn't there one for shooting weapons?
Hang on.
I think hunt,
it depends on the text.
I think hunt, right? Attack with precision shooting from a distance? Or am I incorrect on that?
No, I think you can roll that. Hang on.
This is risky?
Yes, risky.
Uh-oh. All right, here we go. Yes.
On a 2, you fire this pistol off, and at that moment it's turned around and it's looking at Spurs. You can see where these long bone nails are sort of digging into the side of the catacombs as it's lashed its tail round. And you fire your pistol and you see that bone shatter off of its shoulder, and it just turns round and looks at you, taking the direction away from Spurs.
Can I shoot my other pistol?
Roll for me.
This is risky also, correct?
This is risky.
There we go.
Yeah. This time you fire it off. As you do, you see it as it comes lashing down with these huge bone-like claws as it goes to swipe, and you fire, hitting where the wrist is, where the bones join, and it just shatters, sending it off onto the floor. And it drops this, at first what you think is one jaw, but realize it's built up of multiple as it hangs down and hisses at you. And Rajani, what are you doing?
Out of character, I'm not sure if this is going to work because I'm new to this game, but I have an item called a Demon Bane charm, which just says an arcane trinket that demons prefer to avoid.
Mhm.
So Rajani she draws her pistol, which looks like it's made from the same sort of golden material as her mask, and points it at the demon, and then pulls out this charm from underneath her clothes that's sort of this like face carved from bone with like flecks of gold in it, and she holds that out. She holds both out and just says, "Stay away."
Are you firing the gun, or?
I want to see how it reacts first, and then maybe fire the gun if I can.
You notice as it leers forward, it's almost like it's looking at it. It gets right up to your face, and as you pull this out, it recoils. It's sort of, it's a moment where it freezes, and you see that jaw drop again as it hisses and starts to back up. Blue, what would you like to do as Rajani? Rajani, are you walking towards this thing?
I guess how far I would want to try and get it away from Spurs and Dabo as well. So I guess
there are two opposite sides, so either one
yes.
is going to go closer to the other.
Okay. Then I guess I'm going to just try and get it into a vulnerable position where we're all flanking it.
Okay. You can definitely back it up because Spurs is behind it and it is backing away with its back to Spurs. So you can almost force it in that direction.
Okay.
Blue, you see this as Rajani is walking towards you. You've seen 2 for 1 fire at it. What would you like to do?
I don't think realistically Blue is much of a fighter.
Oh, you've broken up.
I'm gonna take out a throwing knife I have on me, more to be prepared than to actually use it.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm using the flashback mechanic correctly, but I will say, I would like to imagine that when everyone first told me that I had been recruited not to a casino, as I first thought, but in fact a fucking demon blood operation, that it so freaked me out that I took the time to read up as much as I could, because I'm not, unlike Rajani, previously that educated in like the arcane. Can I roll like a study to see if I have ever heard of a creature like this? If I'm familiar with, like, just like something made of bones that could hang around catacombs.
Yeah, roll a study for me. Let's just see.
Risky?
Definitely risky.
Standard?
Standard.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Do I take 1 stress to get 1 bonus dice?
It's 2, I
2
believe.
stress. Okay. 2 stress.
Well,
for
if it's
one
a
bonus dice.
flashback 2, it either costs no stress if it's something you could have reasonably done with easy access. 1 if it's like a little more complex, and 2 if it's like this is a 1 in
I'll say 1.
Okay.
Because of 1, your backstory, and 2, where is 5? Okay, so if anything, you've not necessarily seen one of these things before, but from your past social standing, you heard stories as a child growing up. You know, don't stay out too late because, you know, you'll hear the clack and the bone thing will seep through the streets and catch you. And you know that this thing is almost like a manifestation, like a demon, that yes, it has these bones, but it takes things to build a more material body rather than it being made of this stuff originally.
Got it. Okay. So in that case, maybe I'm not going to throw the knife or anything, but I will yell out to everyone else. I know this seems insane, but I think we should drive it out of the catacombs because the more access to bones it has, the bigger and stronger it's going to stay.
I will also say, you know that because of these bones, you're literally trying to break the physical form.
Got it. Okay. So it's just like breaking a human bones.
Dark. Okay. It is Spurs' turn, and Spurs, this thing has its back to you. So I will say, if you want, you can roll with advantage, as in I'll let you roll twice because it's currently focused on this thing that Rajani is holding. You can see it's almost mesmerized by it as it's trying to avoid it.
Okay. I've got an idea, which is to split it off from everybody else. And the tools that I have at my disposal to do that are very limited. I do have... Technically, everyone has access to demolition tools. Everyone has access to pistols. What I think... So this is... We're underground catacombs. The ceilings... I imagine are either stone or they're like vaulted wood and
These
stuff
are very
packed in.
these are like stone, but they've definitely been chiseled into like out of the ground rather than structures being put up, and you can see that there is dust falling from the ceiling. Like it's been there a long time.
So the idea that I have, and I'd like to take a devil's bargain to do this. My proposal for the devil's bargain is thus: I take out a pistol with my other hand, and Spurs takes a second to assess and goes to shoot some of the loose rock above the creature. But the consequence being the rock falls to block its path forward, but now Spurs is still on the same side of the rock as the creature.
I was gonna say that's probably what it's gonna be.
All right.
The other thing I want you to roll in general is finesse for something else.
For funsies, okay.
For funsies.
What would be the position in effect for the finesse?
I'm gonna say this is risky, but it is a standard effect again.
Okay. So here's your finesse. It's a 1 because I have to take the lowest of 2. And then I'd like to attempt a wreck with the bonus die from the Devil's Bargain. The position in effect?
Hang on. 1 up from risky. My brain has gone blank.
Desperate.
But that's it, desperate. This is desperate.
Makes sense.
It is jumping towards, and effect is standard because of what you're actually doing.
Okay, great. And 1 bonus die, and survey says it's a 1.
Okay. Oh.
Things go badly.
Now, describe for a moment how you're destroying the things around you to collapse the ceiling. How are you doing it?
So Spurs has been knocked backwards. So he's panting. He gets up, and I think in his mind, he knows exactly what he has to do, but his body doesn't want him to do that. So he's reeling. He's got kind of double vision for a second, maybe a ringing in his ears. He's trying to assess the distance of everything, but the flame is in his way. This creature is barreling down. It's gotten bigger. And he goes to shoot what he thinks is the right set of rocks, but the shot goes wild. So he has to bang, bang, bang. Eventually gets it, but it's just wild shots. Maybe he falls at one interval, just takes the shot, and the recoil is too much, so he collapses, gets back up to his feet, and takes the other shot.
You, almost staggering backwards, you fire again and again, and the rest of you see this as the dust starts to shake and the ground above starts to shudder. Spurs is way out of your reach, and I'll say Spurs because you missed the first few times. This bone demon turns around, almost ignoring Rajani now, and it starts to gallop towards you as you are firing these shots off. And there's a moment where there's that shudder, and it's maybe about this far away from you, its head leering in, its jaw snapping towards you, and there's that crash. And the catacombs start to cave in. And the rest of you see it as almost just as it goes off, almost like a row, it goes doof, doof, doof. All of these huge bits of rock start crashing down. You see Spurs and this bone demon disappear in this pile of rubble. And Spurs, as this creature reaches you, there's a moment where it is just opening its mouth as it comes towards you, and that final piece of huge rock drops, and you hear that crunch, that crash as it goes down. But because you rolled so badly, I'm afraid, and the finesse, you now need to run to get out as the rest of this catacomb on your side. You look up, and it starts to shudder and start to cave in. I will say, because you have been here on the, you've been down here before, you know that if you run straight and off to the right, there is an exit out into one of the main streets. But you are going to have to run to get there. So before we do that, Blue and Rajani and Dabo, you've seen him disappear in this crash. You two also know that there are other exits and things like this, but you notice that the ground just above you is still shuddering slightly. What would you all like to do?
So he's essentially trapped on another side of this, so we can't get to him.
You can't get to him. This is a whole load of rock that's just dropped down.
I guess I would turn to the others and say, he knows there are other exits. I think we need to leave. We trust that he can get out on his own, right?
Yeah, we drilled this into each other, right? We've memorized all the ways out.
How much more of this catacomb is there until our secret hatch?
It's not looking like it's going to dissolve your floors. You've got maybe 60, 70 feet that way. And then you can just about see the light where the stairs go up, because it is effectively a straight line from here.
Yeah, let's catch him on the top side. He knows what he's doing.
Real quick, out of character, like, do I know if are we collapsing other people's floors essentially? Like, did we just cause a bunch of buildings to like sink into the earth?
Bone Demon dealt with, competition dealt with.
Just like architecturally speaking, what is my understanding
Architecturally speaking, you know there's some warehouses behind you, like storehouses. Not anything of yours, and it's more that you are sort of built around some of the warehouses because, you know, you blend in that way. You can sort of blend, but you do also know there is a blue coats small office somewhere above.
Oh, cool. Good. The cops. It's great. Cool.
They're clearly the cause of all this. Let's go. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna head to the stairs like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
What just happened?
I'm gonna head there as if it is a big deal. I'm gonna run, actually.
Okay. Could you, as this happens, I want you to all roll a finesse purely to dodge other things that are dropping from the ceiling. Nothing super. It's not like it's caving in fully, but.
Risky standard?
This is risky and standard, yes.
Okay, I have nothing in finesse, so I'm going to do the stress thing.
Mm-hmm.
So once I've done that, does it just automatically give me? Sorry, it just on roll 20.
Yeah,
does it? Okay.
Yeah, it rolls 2, and then you take the lowest result.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, but if I give myself 2 stress, do I then just roll 1? Does it automatically take that into account?
Die.
Yeah, you have to add the dice in.
You have to manually put in,
Oh, is that the lowest option? Yes, okay.
It'll ask you for bonus dice.
Okay,
and you have to
I
mark
got that.
off the stress manually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
First of all, you, Blue, as you turn to run, you trip. Some of this debris, you can see some that you come crashing down as you do. And 2 for 1, you managed it. You can see bits of the ceiling dropping down. You can see some of the, like, this shaking, and you see some of the bones start to judder and sort of fall out of the catacombs itself. And Rajani, you do manage to sprint. I will say you were actually behind Blue, so you have seen Blue fall.
Okay, can I help her up?
Was I not behind Blue also?
You were you were the other side. You were just in front, so you would have.
I thought she went up
been
and
the other way around.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, yeah. Then you would have seen it as well.
Yes, everyone witnessed me fall. It's cool.
Thanks.
Dabo would try to shield her and help her up, and then try to get her out. You know.
Yeah, it would help. I guess if they each take one side and just try to like.
I think I'd pull my hood over my head too, as if that would help. Like, come on, let's go.
Okay, I will say then, Blue, can you roll one more finesse as you are almost scooped up and dragged down this thing?
I would do it nicely. I'm not gonna just drag her to the table, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
she dumped Odessa face.
To help Davo. Okay, having this dice in finesse is not coming in handy, I will say, at all. 2.
But what you have realized, you feel like maybe you've twisted your ankle, no permanent damage as you fell. You've it's like a strain or something, but you are dragged effectively, one arm each. As the rest of you head up towards the steps where you can see a light, and you see Tom's head poking through, just like, what are you doing? As you sort of come tearing, and you are able to climb up out of this catacomb, out of where this trapdoor is, as he starts helping you up, Blue, pulling you out. And as you both all pass through this door, he slams it shut. And
I'm
pushes
assuming
the
there's
table.
some sort of locking mechanism on this.
Oh yeah,
door.
there's a lock. He's just paranoid. He's pushing a table on top of it for his own sake, you feel, more than anything. And as you see, like, you can see that ward, almost like that glyph, that glow, one of the desses light up briefly for a moment as something rattles the trapdoor itself and stops. Spurs, I need you to run, and I'm going to get you to roll a... What would you like to, or how are you getting out of here? Like, is it stealthily? Is it... Because you can see that it's almost like the ceiling is now collapsing after you.
Right. My plan was to prowl. Climb, swim, run, jump, and tumble.
Roll for me. This is
all
risky.
of those things.
And standard, please.
All of them at once.
Swimming
order.
down there, like, come on, I got this.
Yeah. Risky standard, you said?
Yes, please.
All right. Let's keep everything as is, and that's a 6.
Because it's such a good roll, describe to me what it looks like as you tear down this corridor, as the ceiling is crashing in. You can see almost like the walls themselves, that dust is almost suffocating as you're having to get through, but you can see where those other steps come up to one of the drains. Describe it for me.
Yeah, so it's like looking at your average cover shooter video game, right? So the Spurs has gotten the shots off, chucks the pistol. It's like, forget it, this is useless. Jams the sword back into his scabbard, and like, if you were in his mind, you would see like the little yellow highlight over the little terrain pieces that you have to hold X to run over. So like vaults over a collapsed flagstone, piece of rock slams in front of him that he's like jumps off to the side just in time. There's a gap. He knows there's a gap, so he's already jumped ahead and grabbed onto one of the low-hanging wooden beams to swing over this little gap, and then the slides down the end of the hallway, just out of the camera frame. Keeps like thundering like a forward shot as like rock bam bam bam, and then like jumps onto a ladder and just like starts climbing. We can see like sweat, his hair is matted down, he's lost his hat somewhere in there. He's got like a couple of bruises, a little bit of blood, and he's just like, come on, baby. Here we go.
And as you do, you reach the top and you push open this sort of like drain base, and you feel that wetness as rain kicks your face. And that dust is matted together with, you think you might be bleeding a tiny bit, where maybe like a sharp rock, but nothing permanent. But that mixture of blood, rain, and sort of caked almost this mud on your face as you hook your arms out and are able to push yourself out. And there is chaos currently around you, people panicking. You hear whistles and alarms going off as you look back, and where the Bluecoats office is, some houses and one of the warehouses has just dipped. And the buildings have sort of, especially on one of the one sides, it's crushed and sort of slid down. And I will say there are enough crowds being drawn. If you want to try slip away without being noticed, you can.
Yeah, that's the plan.
No, open your shirt and have your Shawshank Redemption moment.
I've done it. Yeah, we're gonna prowl away.
Yes, please.
We'll see what happens here.
This is not risky. This is
Controlled.
yeah, controlled. That's it. I keep trying to say standard.
Controlled standard effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a 5.
You manage to lose yourself in this crowd as you weave away through this almost terror that is going on of people panicking, coming out of the buildings, coming through the houses. Where are you headed?
Anywhere that's not here.
You can
I think that's part of the consequences. Like Spurs just wants to like get some distance between himself and whatever's happened, and then once the crowd like clears out, like okay, now I can assess my situation. I can find out where I am. I'll link up back with the team. Now, anywhere in this immediate vicinity is a bad plan.
You know that how far you ran in the catacombs, you started in Brightstone, you're at the edge of the 6 towers. So just by where the water crosses, where you can see the divide, and that rain is pouring down, you can see the static from the sort of the lightning towers that surround it, but that rain is pouring down your face, soaking your clothes, almost getting rid of half of the mud and dirt that is on you. But you're pretty good walk away from the 13th floor, but I will say it's not like it's a carriage ride away. You can definitely weave your way back.
It's just like a longer, more inconvenient.
It's inconvenient more than anything.
Yeah. So that's once he's out of the way, like the crowd thins out. He's standing on like maybe a bridge, passing into 6 towers, looks back. Everyone's kind of rushed, I think, that direction towards Brightstone, so he's kind of alone. Like takes a moment, wipes the sweat, looks at the blood, just like dabs it off with a cloth, adjusts the coat. Well, let's get to work. And he goes back to that direction, back to the 13th floor.
You head towards the 13th floor. As you do, you see lots of carriages and these huge goats come thundering past. The blue coats, the whistles are going, and people are running basically in the opposite direction of you, and you just walk steadily back towards the casino. And Blue, Rajani, and Dabo, you head upstairs. You can see that Thomas has placed Odessa on one of the tables, rolled up his jacket and put it underneath her head, and
Such a gentleman, Thomas.
covered with like he was brought up by a nice family. And he's just sat at the bar but not looking towards it. He sat watching Odessa and watching all of you. He's like, so what the hell was that? Also, weren't there 4 of you before this? He sort of looks over looking for Spurs.
Spurs got separated, but I'm sure he'll make his way back to us. I trust that he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
In 20 minutes.
What was that? That you cut out?
He's not back in 20 minutes. We'll go look for him. This isn't the first time I think that he's ad-libbed an escape plan or something. So, and then Don was kind of like turn and walk over to where the whiskey, where the booze is, like open the cabinets, bypass all the other fancy. I just pull it out, kind of flick it in his hand. It's like an old bottle, like a nice fine bottle of whiskey. Tuck it in his jacket. Well, who wants to start with what was going on down there? You're talking to imaginary things, and now bone demons are showing. Well, not imaginary things. You're talking
It's
to
not
things,
imaginary.
things we can't see. And obviously had interaction, and right. Taken away. What's going on?
I'm not entirely sure, but it seems all these things that are happening to me are connected in some way. I saw this creature looming over Odessa, but from my interaction with it, I don't believe it was malicious. I think it was trying to help me, to help us. Earlier, I saw a woman, a spirit of some kind, and as it was fading away, it appeared to look like her. And the woman I saw earlier was trying to help me, I believe, as well. So I fully believe that creature I was speaking to was trying to help us. The bone demon, on the other hand, was definitely not. I have no idea where that came from.
Were they hostile to each other? Your spirit buddy?
The bone demons seemed to be going for her, for the
Oh,
spirit.
damn.
Yeah, that's what I was
Should
trying
we
to
just let
drag
the
her.
bone demon have her?
Well,
It didn't get her.
it obviously
Would it go away if it did?
Rajani doesn't think that it had ill intentions. I think we could all assume that this bone demon had ill intentions. Odessa saw something down there, as she was saying, before she almost got taken away, which we can't get the information for right now. Rajani, you were kind of shaking up earlier. You know, basically, how do you feel right now? Do you feel like you're being watched? Do you feel like something's still attached to you? Like, how do you feel right now?
Not shaken, but I feel as though there's something trying to communicate with me for a purpose. Whether it wants me to help it or whether it wants to help me and us. Maybe both. I don't know. But I hope that I can find out what it wants and figure out a way to help it if I can.
While they're
sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say while they're talking, I'm gonna go sit next to Odessa and just like hold the hand up, make sure she's breathing, take her pulse, just
you
sit next to her.
definitely get the feel that she's passed out. She's breathing absolutely fine. There doesn't seem to be anything like still with her, if you see what I mean.
I'm just gonna sit next to her in solidarity while we have this conversation.
I'm gonna tell the group that I'll be back in 20 minutes, and then we can make a decision to find Spurs or not. I gotta go take care of something.
Okay.
And this isn't the first time that Davos had to go off and take care of something. You guys probably know this as normal sometimes. And I'm gonna head out to the streets.
Alice, do we hear commotion, by the way, like audibly? Like, can we tell people are fleeing?
Yeah, it's more that the situation has calmed down. You heard the rumble and everything, but you can hear people yelling. You can hear the blue coats. You can hear the whistles going off, like the alarm. Like you can tell. You have a good idea of what it was because you know your surroundings because you chose there for a reason.
Wait, real quick, Dabo. If the blue coats come question us, I plan on telling them what happened. That cool?
I wouldn't let them in until we know what Odessa saw and make sure Spurs is back. That's fine.
Also, out of character, would we try to keep the catacombs and stuff like on the down low because it leads to our, isn't it like connected to our stash room?
It's been moved.
Yeah.
It has been moved, but yeah, in general, wouldn't we?
I just wouldn't answer the door for now. They're not going to kick the door in.
All right.
Let's just wait till Odessa's, till we have all the information of this puzzle.
All right.
And I'm gonna head out, Alice. I'm gonna grab like a black overcoat that has a hood.
Mm-hmm.
I always seem to grab when I say I'm gonna go out. I gotta go take care of something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Where are you going?
I also have with me, I have this, because I have find, as part of my items as a spider, I have find cover identity. Mm-hmm. So I have like this blue Harlequin mask. And I'm going to kind of put it on and I'm going to walk some back alleys and I'm going to look for some poor soul running for fear right now.
Okay.
Some isolated person, someone who might be drunk and got lost in the back alley or something like that.
You can see a lot of people running. There looks to be there's not any blue coats. They seem to be centered around the actual incident where everything collapsed, you do see a young boy running down the street, and he sort of keeps going. He's yelling. You can see that probably what you can guess is either an older brother or a father running after him as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna go after. Okay, so I will kind of start following the father.
Okay.
And if there's an opportunity to like get into an alley or cut him off, you know, and the father's running by, I'm gonna be like, he came this way, kind of like hide in my face. Like, he came this way, and then turn and see if the father follows me.
Okay. I'll say yeah, can do that. The he looks to be maybe an older brother, but about 26, 27 years old.
Okay, so it's not a child. Okay.
No. And he sort of turns and goes, "Where'd he go?"
And then I'm gonna turn and let him see the blue harlequin mask and pull a gun out and point it at his face.
He's like, "Whoa, whoa!"
I'm gonna tell him to get on his knees.
Okay, and he sort of does and looks at you.
Would you lose? You lose your brother in a time like this during chaos. You lose somebody during a time like this.
I was running after him. You said he went this way.
You lost him. Admit it.
Fine, I lost him.
Pathetic. You'll do better to watch after your younger brother in the future. Understand?
Yes, I understand.
I'm gonna cock the pistol. I'm gonna be like, I believe you. Go.
And there's a moment where he looks at you, but he quickly scrabbles up and runs.
Okay, I was just trying to clear my stress by indulging in my vice, which is mercy. Which is weird. It's a weird
mercy
vice.
Is my vice.
It's
not what I pictured.
It's basically to prey on somebody who's weak or suffering and then choose not to hurt them.
I like how the vice part of that is the mercy and not say the preying on the weak and vulnerable.
You do manage, however, you watch him scurry away. Like, he falls over a couple of times, and then you see him going back the other direction, dragging this younger boy with him. Goes, "Where have you been?" Like, he's sort of shouting as he heads away. And Spurs, I'll say at this point, you're sort of at the main door of the 13th floor. You can definitely head in. What are Rajani and Blue doing whilst 2 for 1 is away and stuff?
So I'm not sure how many connections you want to like allow me to have. One of my sly friends is not a spirit warden, but would I socially know one, either just from growing up with them, someone I grew up with became a spirit warden, or maybe in my like extensive partying and socializing I've met one?
I think maybe you know a much older spirit warden. Maybe they used to check on the house sort of on the way round when they used to do the round with your family. Maybe they knew one of your parents or something.
Like a retired spirit warden?
Yeah, maybe. If you want them to be.
Yeah, I mean, I was just wondering if I think it might be notable. Like, maybe not a lot of spirit wardens. You know what I mean? Like, you don't meet a lot of old thieves. Like, you don't meet a lot of old spirit wardens.
The spirit wardens thing is almost seen as a respectable kind of thing to have. They're not like the blue coats. You're just seeing them a lot more lately. You know he's retired. And it's more like he definitely patrolled the streets your family lived on.
So yeah, I'll explain to Rajani. Look, I know we're seeing the Dimmer sisters later tonight, and they might be able to help us with some information, but I know someone else who used to be a spirit warden, might be able to shed some light. I think he still has a bit of a soft spot for me. I want to go ask him if he's ever encountered anything like this and how we can get rid of it.
You'll see her face kind of like scrunch up in like, ugh, when you say a retired spirit warden. She's like,
he's nice.
If you think he might have experience with something like this, I guess gathering all the information we can would be useful. Do you want me to go with you?
Yeah, just, I know you've got a bit of a gentle bias against the line
Those
of
barbarians.
work. We all have our opinions. Let's be nice. But yeah, I
can
think
be
you might have some
civil in
useful...
front of them. Don't worry. I can
Oh,
contain myself.
I've just been spending the whole day with Dabo, so I'm just not used to people containing themselves anymore.
So that's out of character.
You love it.
Yeah. So I guess I would know where to find him. Do we need to take a carriage? Is he far?
You would know he is probably a carriage sort of way to go. He's sort of down by Crowsfoot most of the time. He's either in Crowsfoot, or you'll probably know he might be down by the docks, purely because he isn't employed anymore, but he likes the taverns down there, and he can't help but walk the streets and see if he can pick up any spirits and things like that. It's almost like hard to let go kind of thing. I will say on your way out though, if anything spurs you see them go to leave the 13th floor.
And I'm going to bring, by the way, a bottle of wine that I know that I remember that he enjoys.
Oh yeah.
I've mentioned before. Gift. Cool. Oh, so we run into Spurs.
Well, Spurs sees you at least first.
Yeah, and I think once he sees familiar faces come out, he'll kind of step out of the crowd and then come back in. So he's, eaten up. Most of the dust is kind of like washed off of his coat, but now his coat is super wet. And his hair is really wet because he lost his hat somewhere down there. But he looks beaten up, and tired, but in one piece. And he walks over to everyone and he raises a hand.
Johnny gives him a nod, just like, I knew you could do it.
I knew the rest of you could too.
I am not as cool about this. I will give like a little streak and then give you like a tiny quick hug and then back off because I realize we're not huggers. I am not used to violent altercations. It's been quite an afternoon. Hi.
Blue, are you all right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's cool. Just a monster that I heard about every night as a child come to life, living underneath our business.
You get used to it.
Do you think he's dead?
Oh no, not at all.
Oh, good.
It's probably still down there somewhere. It's probably in several pieces, but it's probably gonna come back up.
Lovely.
I understand it can be a little jarring. I grew up like this. They weren't that bad. That's the worst that I've seen. But, well, it's a long story, but we used to sleep in ruined cities, old buildings, because they're everywhere. These things, they just drift all over Severos. You get used to it. They're just like big dogs, predatory animals, and when they come at you, you have to put them down. That's it.
Yeah, we had a pet Rottweiler, so I guess to each their own.
Whereas this is clearly an uncomfortable topic of conversation. So you see, you got something nice in your hands. You going on a field trip?
Yeah, so we're going to visit a friend of Blue's for some information.
Want to come?
Love to tag along.
Dabo's going to come back to no one.
Yeah. Oh, let's leave. Wait, no, but we'll have told Thomas where we're going.
Okay, yes, we'll tell him.
Tom doesn't leave. Like, he's just staying where
because he's still with Odessa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we would have told Thomas to tell Dabo what's going on.
Yeah. I won't make you do a flashback. But
Flashback, yeah.
And the three of you can head off with probably a slightly more soggy Spurs towards the docks. And Dabo, when you come back, you do see a carriage pulled up outside. This is a very fancy looking carriage. You see the two huge goats with these large horns around the side. They've put like, it's almost like this blue and gold inlay on a lot of the harnesses and things like that. And a youngish man steps out, almost in matching blue and gold, and knocks on the 13th floor as you return. Thomas does not answer the door.
I'll just walk. By now I would have put my mask back in its thing and put the collar back down, and just, and I'll walk up and be like, "Help you."
Good afternoon, sir. I am here as one of the carriages to escort you to the Dimmer Sisters Manor. There is no rush, sir. I will be parked outside.
Oh well, let me just grab the rest of my friends, and we can head out immediately.
Absolutely. And he sort of looks you up and down and gives you a smile. He's like, "I will wait on my carriage, sir." And he climbs back up.
And I'll walk in.
Like, you walk in. You see
Odessa. Gone for
Odessa.
10 minutes.
You see Odessa lay down on the table. Thomas turns around and looks at you. He's like, "They went out."
Oh, well, there was an invitation to the Dema Sisters, and I said we were a party of 6, and now we seem to be a party of 1. You want to make it a party of 2?
And he sort of like looks as, all right. And he puts the glass down.
I'm going to write a note. Went to Dimmer Sisters as we were supposed to. Meet you there.
There's a 20 on the table for a pizza.
And I'm going to write down, we definitely walked and did not take a fine carriage. And I'm going to walk out with Thomas and be like, my friend said they'll meet us.
Thomas sort of he shrugged on this very big, it's a pretty fine jacket, just a heavy dark jacket and a tall hat as he puts it on his head. You watch him sort of almost talk to the bat before he leaves as this bat sort of hovers over Odessa, and he walks out with you. And as you've said to this young man that the rest of the party will follow, that absolutely, sir, if you would like to climb on board.
Really quick, Draco was inside the 13th floor with Odessa still, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time is it, by the way?
It's sort of afternoon, but like mid-afternoon.
We probably should have left a note on the door that's like closed due to.
Well, if anyone goes in there, they're going to get attacked
for the
by
foreseeable
a real
future.
Lock the door. I just lock the door when we leave.
Yeah.
We have keys. Just lock the door when we leave.
But the man looks at you, he's like, "Please, on board. And if the rest of your party are coming, I will send another carriage in the next hour." You know that the Dimmer Sisters, as I said, they don't leave their house, so they put a lot of their money into bringing people to them, rather the other way around. And Thomas sort of opens the door for you and almost very dramatically sort of bows to you for you to get on first.
I do.
So, fine.
It's
And
a
he sort of
date.
starts climbing in, and he looks very disgruntled about being in a carriage. And he's like, "Where are we going?"
Dema Sisters. You can stand on the back if your hat doesn't fit in here.
Damn it. And he slumps back.
You don't have
His,
to.
back to his,
You're more welcome to stay at the 13th floor.
it's like, "No, I'm good. I can get food and drink there." And he sort of slumps back, and the carriage moves into motion as you feel it jolt along those cobbled streets as you head towards their manor. And I think that is where we will take our quick break. So we'll be back in a minute. Everyone go get a drink, tell your pets you love them, and we'll be back in a minute. Bye.
I am gonna go make the world's fastest French press.
Ooh.
Hello. We are headed down to the docks. We have Puppers with us now on screen, which I'm very happy about. But we've got Spurs, Rajani, and Blue. You're headed down to the docks, and you know one of the taverns you normally find this man in. You know him as Christopher. And he's you know that he's in these taverns. He's not in these taverns for a drink. He's a watcher. He likes to watch people go about their day. And you can see one of these taverns called the Old Ship, or the Old Ship Inn, as it is known. And it's actually quite a nice one for down by the docks. It's a tiny bit higher up. What would you do? Do you go straight in, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a moment outside, and I'll like tell Spurs and Johnny, give me just one quick sec.
Sure.
And it says that I do have like, I think the equivalent of like a disguise kit and like fine jewelry. So it's been a long morning. I'm gonna try and make myself look like a little bit more presentable because Christopher remembers me from a more prosperous time. And I don't want to shock him or anything. And then I'll go in and I'll just go straight to his table wherever he's seated.
You can see Christopher over at the table by one of the fireplaces, quite a big hearth. It's not very full in here, like the lunchtime sort of, I guess, rush is gone. People are already starting to go back to work. You can see him sat there nursing an ale, which you're pretty sure he's only bought so he can sit in here. You see that sort of white and pepper beard. It's a very short beard. It's cropped quite much to his face. He's fairly tall. He's got very white hair, which he has taken the time to make look fairly neat and put care into. He's in a shirt, an unbuttoned waistcoat, and he sat there looking pretty calm, just looking around. You see those brilliant blue eyes, and you notice that his shoes are very well taken care of as well. Again, he's as much as he's retired, you can tell he still has very much pride in what he looks like. And he sort of scans over and he spots you immediately, and he stands up. He's like, "Blue, it's been so long."
Yeah. I imagine we have a kind of an avuncular relationship because he is like more like my parents' age. Mm-hmm. Uncle Christopher, you silver fox. It's such a pleasure to see you. You're looking neat as always.
And he smiles. He walks over to her. He holds both of his hands up to yours, and takes your hand. And he's like, "Come sit down. Come sit down."
Yes. Christopher, I'd like to introduce you to two friends of mine. Did you guys follow me in?
Yeah. You said, yeah, but lagged behind a little bit, I guess.
Right. Standing in the doorway, maybe, hands behind the back, like very deferential.
Okay, I'm gonna like gesture to have you guys join. Christopher, I'd like you to meet two friends of mine, though. This is Spurs and Rajani. They're my new colleagues.
And he sort of gives you both a very warming, the best way I can describe it is a grandpa smile. As he sort of holds his hand out to you, he's like, "Well, a friend of Blue's is a friend of mine. Please, come sit at my table."
So yeah, I'll follow him to his table. And as we do so, I'm gonna pull the wine out of my pocket.
And he looks at it, and he's just like, he sort of jokes that you're still too young for anything. He's like, "You're too young to be drinking."
Of course. Well, this is for you. I figure they wouldn't serve anything in here quite to your taste.
And
I remember you love this.
And he sort of takes it, and there's a big jacket on the back of the chair, which he does pop it in one of these huge pockets. He's like, "Thank you, my dear. Now, what is the honor of being, well, one, seeing your delightful self here again, and also your friends. It is nice to meet you. Was it Spurs and Rajani?"
That's right.
Good to meet you. Do you drink? Would you like a drink?
Good to drink, actually. Spurs?
Whatever you're serving.
I'll gesture to a waitress.
Yeah. A waitress sort of comes over. She's all smiles and quite smiley. She's like, What can I do for you? We've
Oh,
got
I'll
ale or wine.
Do you guys have tea? Because I'm trying to look wholesome in front of Christopher. I'll just
Yes.
have a dark tea, whatever you have.
Tea.
Yes, I'm not much of a drinker. And I'm like shooting Rajani and Spurs. I look like.
Yeah,
Ale.
no, I can do your tea. Ale and you, sir.
Ale. Put a head on
Ale.
it.
No problem. And she sort of like walks back to the bar. And Christopher looks at you smiling because he's still got his tankard is still almost completely full. You know he's not much of a drinker either.
Yes, something we have in common.
He's just nursing it.
Well, Christopher, aside from obviously the pleasure of catching up, I'm afraid that we do come to you with a couple unfortunate questions. My colleagues and I here run a wonderful casino. You should absolutely stop by sometime. It's called the 13th Floor. It's on a very desirable street in Brightstone. And we've been having a few spirit problems, you might say. Rajani's really the expert here, but I was wondering if we could maybe draw on your experience a bit.
And he looks at you, and then he looks at Rajani and Spurs almost wonderingly, but as I said, he's a watcher. He's taking you all in. He's like, yes, yeah, I suppose I can try answer any questions you have.
Have you noticed anything strange happening in the city recently? We've noticed a lot more of your former colleagues are out patrolling than before. They seem quite on edge. It seems like maybe something's going on.
And he sort of takes a moment. I have been wondering such things myself. We never used to, as you may remember, we never used to travel in pairs as it was, and now there's more and more of us, of them, still out and about, it seems. There's a lot more down by the docks, and there seems to be quite a few in Brightstone at the moment.
We don't know what they're looking for either, but can you keep this between us, Christopher?
Of course.
We had a bit of a terrifying, at least for me, Spurs and Rajani are much tougher, a bit of a terrifying encounter this morning with a creature that I'm wondering if you've dealt with before.
Are you okay?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're luckily unscathed. I would describe this creature as a giant walking skeleton amalgamation. Friends, any better descriptions to provide?
It was demonic. I believe it's called a bone demon.
And he looks to all of you. Where did you see this?
The basement.
Of
our establishment, yes.
Right. That's interesting. They, yes, I have heard of those. And,
you never fought one? Or ran into one?
I liked to avoid them, but yes, when I had to confront one, I did deal with them. But you get them quick, you see. Otherwise, you're going to have more of a problem. I haven't seen one in a very long time, at least not on these streets. It's not a common thing, now that we know how to protect ourselves. And as we said, spirit wardens are out. We should. And he looks very confused. He sort of like rubs his beard and ruffles his hair a little bit that was tidy, but he ruffles it, which you remember he does when he's thinking.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things don't tend to just pass through. A while back, I don't know how much you know, of course, you are a lady of distinction. Spirit wells. The one I encountered was many, many years ago when it came out of a spirit well.
How do you find spirit wells, or how do you tell if there's one near you?
Normally the demons come out of it, and you try to stop it as soon as possible. It's not something you can sense. That's the problem with them. They are sporadic. They pop up where, if anything, you least expect them.
Oh God. How do you close them?
We had methods when I was younger, but if I'm honest, I'm not too sure what they do now. We normally have someone who is either sensitive and he looks slightly ashamed at first. He's like, people of the occult tend to understand these things a lot more than we do. So at the time when we had a few pop up, which is very rare, they don't do it too often. They don't tend to manage to break through. And he sort of looks off to the side at no one for a moment. I am seeing more spirits at the moment. Nothing demonic, nothing like that has come across my path, but it is interesting that more and more spirits are appearing on the streets. I'm not too sure.
Do you think it could be a symptom that a bunch of these spirit wells have recently opened up?
This is now my thought after talking to you. However, was there a spirit well that you saw?
Rajani, did you see one? What did they look like?
Does Rajani, has she heard of spirit wells? Does she know what that would look like if she
You
had
may
seen
not
one?
have. You may not have seen one. It's something that the wardens get to very, very quickly and try to keep under wraps.
What about back home? Would they ever have them there?
You've absolutely heard of them because you don't feel the spirit well, but you feel the closeness of like an amalgamation of spirits. Like they tend to congregate around it. Normally the dead are either drawn to them, but things come out of it. But it's almost like a blip. So sometimes they close themselves. It's like a limited time thing.
Okay.
Were we in the tunnels? I don't recall if we were in the tunnels when the people were running around murmuring something about like the well. Only Odessa.
Yeah.
Only
Odessa.
Odessa saw it.
Yeah.
Great.
Currently passed out on the table somewhere. So, yeah.
And she like described it really quickly before passing out, right? So
cool. I've never seen one myself. I have heard of them, obviously, but we didn't actually see where the demon came from. It just came barreling towards us, and we just had to act as quickly as we could.
Yeah, we were a little distracted once we noticed it.
Do all of you have protective symbols to ward these things off?
I do.
It is.
Pull up the spirit bane charm.
And he nods towards Spurs and Rajani, and then he looks to you, Blue.
I mean, they didn't have any for sale, you know, at the ladies' outfitters.
And he looks almost annoyed as he reaches out. He says, "Then you take mine." And he takes your hand and puts it firmly in your palm. Like, do not take it off, especially with everything that is going on right now.
Oh, Uncle Christopher, thank you. What is it? Or I'm asking you, like, what does it look like?
You can see, for a moment, you think it looks like one of George's, but this actually, closer look, it looks more real. This looks to be it looks like 4 or 5 nails that have been hammered together in a solid ball. And it's not big nails, I'm talking tiny little ones. And they've made almost like this web of a ball, and it's on the end of a piece of leather.
Cool. Have I seen Spurs's before? The nails? Like, do I recognize?
Would you have shown it before?
I think I showed it at some point last episode or the one before.
But you were in the alley with Rajani.
I think you've probably seen it before. He's got it's the similar thing. It's like a long necklace and then just one very long silver nail that's been hammered into a ring that's tied around it. He's got a couple of other charms hanging off, but that's the most like significant because
Uh-huh.
everything else is like, oh, it's like some beads, it's a talisman, it's like a prayer bracelet or something. But this one is
Cool.
like that sits at. So Spurs looks at that charm like very pointedly, but doesn't say anything.
It's lovely. Thank you. And I'm going to like tie it around my neck and give Christopher a little kiss on the cheek. Thank you,
And
Uncle.
he sort of gives a bit of a quick smile, but you can still see the concern on his face. I suggest if you're worried about these sorts of things, not that they just come out at night, but try to be inside.
We were inside when we were attacked.
Then he sort of looks. We'll maybe stay out of the basement.
Maybe.
Oh, we will be.
I was just
you-
wondering. Oh, sorry.
No. You go.
Go ahead. Christopher, have you ever heard the phrase, "I've seen them in the mirror," especially recently at all?
Not particularly, but mirrors do tend to have a link with spirits.
Hmm.
It's a reflective surface, like water or a shiny surface. It's almost a betrayal. It's like a liminality state where you can see things on the other side. Things
Much
that
like
do
these
not
spells.
seem behind you.
Mm,
These
mm.
things, particularly in my day, there was one spirit that was trapped within the mirror.
Locked an object, or
Only a reflective surface. Sometimes you can have more clarity and see things in any reflective surface.
Oh my God, I hope this doesn't mean I need to start avoiding mirrors.
That'll be devastating for you.
And he chuckles slightly and sips his ale and then sort of puts it down.
Rajani, anything else we wanted to bring up or ask?
Rajani thinks for a moment back on the spirit she saw in the form of the woman and like everything she said about so she said, I've seen them in the mirror. She also said, was it the energy farms are failing?
That's correct.
So I'm assuming the energy farms is directly linked. It's like the thing that powers the lightning barriers.
It's kind of,
right?
yeah, it's kind of what powers the lightning barriers, the towers, and you know the eeleries around there as well, which is part of it, where some of the stuff generates from.
Would she know whether the spirit wardens, would they have any sort of jurisdiction or connection to the energy farms?
Probably not. If anything, it's more the blue coats and the higher up, like the government side of things would definitely have a link to it. And even if he did, you can probably guess by being retired, he's not gonna have anything with it now.
Yeah, she thinks for a moment and then is just like, no, that was everything I needed to ask.
He nods. I hope I have been of help to you.
Of course, Uncle. You've been very helpful. We'll let you know if we learn anything else interesting or we figure out why these pairs of spirit wardens are everywhere.
And he sort of mumbles to himself. I will keep an eye out on what I can, but it is good to know that there are demons running about.
And come play a hand of blackjack sometime. I remember you have a bit of a soft spot for it.
You know I don't gamble, Blue.
Well, you can place a couple bets on the house.
And he sort of like frowns at you a little bit, but nods anyway.
We're a very reputable establishment.
We are. We have a license and everything.
Exactly.
And the cocktails are wonderful.
She would know.
Is that in
I've
character
invented
or
a lot
out
of
of character?
recipes.
Harsh.
And he pauses and looks at all of you, and you can see his brain sort of as if it's his mind is churning and whirring, as if he's got some ideas, or he's like, excuse me, He stands up. I need to speak with a man about a dog. And he walks out of the tavern, closing the door behind him, leaving that ale, which has just barely been touched.
Once the door swings shut behind him, I grab the ale and I just like chug half of it. Like, oh, thank God.
I could see the sweat pooling on your forehead.
That's stressful, huh?
Waste not, want not.
Got a good point.
Ale. Good ale.
Rajani's finished her already.
Is that what we've got, guys? A spirit well?
I suppose.
Sounds like it.
Could be. Unfortunately, it seems like a terrible idea to go down and take a look.
Question is it naturally occurring, or is this another gang trying to set us up?
Maybe the
my
sisters
gosh.
could enlighten us on that.
I hope
Oh my
so.
God! Can't believe it. I almost forgot. We have a party to get to. We need to change.
Do we?
Look at Spurs. We need to change. We should go back to. We should change and then, I guess, meet there, or we could meet at the casino.
I mean, we're in the docks, aren't
Did
we?
you set this?
We're in the docks right now, aren't we?
Yeah, you're at the docks.
Well, my house is around the corner, so my boat is around the corner.
Oh my God, I need to check. Where do I live? I
If it
haven't been home in
helps
a
you, I'm
while.
not going to make you all walk home and get changed and play through
We're gonna RP out what outfits we're wearing,
Yeah.
what makeup we're wearing.
Hey, it depends on the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what we can say is that you all go back to your homes, and I would be interested in what you are all wearing as you all meet up back again at the 13th floor. You've seen 2-for-1's note. Thomas is gone.
What's happened to Odessa?
Yeah, Odessa is still there. Odessa is there. You can see this bat sort of crouched over her when you walk in, like when all the lights are off, and he's just like down there with Odessa. You can see the note saying that 2-for-1 has gone to the Dimmer sisters. And very strangely, another carriage is pulled up outside the 13th floor. This time a young woman at the helm said, "Hello, I'm here to collect the rest of you." And what are each of you wearing? What is technically your best outfits to go here?
Rajani hasn't technically changed clothes, but she literally looks like she's wearing the same outfit. Like, all black with like flecks of gold, these like, if you looked very closely, you could see that they're like a bit tatty in different areas than the other ones she was just wearing, and she's still got her spirit mask and her demon bane charm on. It's like it barely looks any different, but she has put some eyeliner on, some like smudged smoky eyeliner. That's her best.
How about Spurs? What does Spurs look like? Because Spurs was very soggy and muddy
Right,
earlier,
it's completely
so-
soaked, a bit of furs and everything. Lost the hat somewhere down there. So he's changed to his old military uniform. So it looks like an officer's coat mixed with like another like rain layer, so another heavier coat that's cut at the waist and then has like 2 strips down the back. It's very Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So like it's clearly also there might be some other stuff going on underneath it. So it's full. It's got like the epaulettes, a scarf or something for warmth, and then maybe a hood or a cowl underneath it that he can throw up just for the rain.
Awesome. And how about Blue?
Blue is wearing a low-cut, frilly red dress, bright red lipstick, and like a kind of gold jewelry that if you looked really, really closely, you can tell it's not real gold. Like little bits of it are like flaking off. But you know, only really, really up close. And then obviously the Demon Bane charm that I now have. And before we leave, I am going to, because I feel so bad, try to make Odessa more comfortable at least. Like instead of Thomas's coat, like I'll go get a pillow, I'll put a blanket over her, leave
You
like
can make her comfy for sure.
I'm gonna like take her pulse again.
She's
leave a
still
little
alive.
note. Just leave a little note that's like, we're so sorry. Like this is where we are if you wake up. I feel like we should have called her a doctor, but
She's still alive. She seems to be breathing normally. Her temperature's fine. Like everything is. There's no bones broken. Nothing.
maybe we know that
She's
people
fine.
tend to need to sleep off these supernatural occurrences or
Yes.
something.
Rajani will back that up.
But all three of you, in your finest dress, climb onto this carriage, and you hear those goats start to move, these huge rams. And 2 for 1, you have been welcomed into this party.
Well, actually, I
Mhm.
would not want to go up. You know, I don't like going to creepy people's houses by myself, so I wouldn't have actually gone there. We can just fast forward a scene and handle it later, or we can just do it really quick. But I would have went to. I still want to get information on who stole from us. So I know I said last episode I wanted to go to one of my shrewd friends, Steph, an information broker. So I would
Yeah.
try to tell the carriage kid to detour there on the way, and I would have swapped out that black overcoat, like that traveling, like just black long coat, for an actual black suit top. So I'd be in all black.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Very matte. It's very matte looking, and then a black tie that has it's silk, so it's got one like shiny aspect to it, where everything else looks matte.
Nice. What are you going to this place to ask?
So I would. Well, she's an information broker, so I would go in and offer some information in exchange for hunting of some information.
Okay. What information specifically?
Do you want me to just tell you? Or you want to role play it out?
What do you want to do? How would you enter the store effectively?
Same way I answer everything.
Anyway,
just barge the door open like I own the place and walk in.
She smiles from behind this. It's not really a bar, but like a desk.
Mm-hmm.
As she looks at you, she recognizes you immediately and just gives you a bit of a smile.
Is there anybody looking at or standing too close as I approach her desk? Does anybody take
no, you know that she doesn't like people near her, so if anything, they're keeping their distance. But she smiles at you upon seeing you and just gives you a nod. She's not someone of many words, but she does indicate the seat opposite.
So I'd walk up and sit down, and anybody who's staring at us, I would just give like an intense stare back until they looked away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, Steph, I require some information, and I will pass on some information. If you think my information is adequate enough, perhaps you can go to work for me.
And what information is it that you require?
3 things. What is the name of the merchant in town, the new guy? I had it written down.
Marcus.
Marcus. Are you aware of the new merchant, Marcus? The trade
I
district?
am.
I'm not so much worried about what he's dealing in, but if any of his clients are dealing in any supernatural substances such as demon blood or anything that, anything along those lines, who are his contacts that he's dealing with?
She raises an eyebrow, but you see her take out a quill and note some things down. She's dressed quite finely, nothing over the top, but she's very smart. That's one thing. What's the other 2?
Who has decided it was a good idea to steal from me and my crew?
And she smiles.
Because I'm running into a brick wall. Granted, it's only been like a day, but still, it's time to get some information specialists like yourself on the case.
I can certainly look into that for you. And she makes another note. And third.
The third thing I would like is I would like eyes on the 13th floor. You must have people in the area, deliveries. I would like eyes on the 13th floor to watch who is watching the 13th floor.
And she smiles. You know I have that. How many do you want?
I defer to your judgment, whatever's adequate enough. Now, you know, I've mentioned our security measures. I mentioned we have 2 people and a giant bat that don't take kindly to people watching. So I would give them, in case somebody goes, if somebody's watching and there's someone who's supposed to be looking out for us, if they get cornered or kidnapped or muffled and taken into a basement, they need some sort of passphrase to know that they're the ones actually trying to help us opposed to hurt us. What do you suggest?
And she pauses for a moment. What about a symbol, not a word? See, one of my people won't talk.
Okay. What symbol?
What do you want?
Again, I'd hate for a bat to rip someone's hands off and they can't draw the symbol out. So something that can adapt quickly to make sure the wrong people aren't attacked, taking interest. What about a stern military salute?
You're going to get that a lot with the blue coats. And she sort of
True.
pauses.
So,
what
do you
about
suggest?
a bat?
A bat symbol.
A bat symbol?
How about a giant bat light you shine in the sky?
She's like, no,
No.
not like that. I mean, a marking on them.
You're going to mark your people?
They already are marked.
And that symbol hasn't been infiltrated or compromised, in your opinion?
And she smiles. No.
Can I see if she's lying to me?
Yeah, roll for me.
I don't know how friends and enemies act. I mean, do you tend to usually just believe your friends?
I would say so, but if you want to, if like you've had stuff stolen, if you want to study her or something like that, like
This wouldn't be like
her,
this wouldn't be consorting with friends, or it would be a study.
I don't know. How much do you think this person's actually a friend, or is it more of a business interaction?
Probably just a business interaction. Oh, you're
Okay.
right. So it'd be a controlled study, controlled.
Yeah.
Okay. Standard. Boom. I got a 6.
Okay, you look at her, and this woman you've probably known for a long time because she's been in the business as much as you have. And she's awful at poker, which you have seen. So she's not showing any tells. She's very much someone who actually hates liars. So you know that you can trust this individual. And if she trusts her people, you can trust them because she doesn't trust a lot of people.
Okay. All right.
How about I find a way to get an indication or a symbol to you, and then I get back to you.
Fair enough. My information for you. There are giant bone demons that are showing up again. You are not
What?
the
Just
giant bone demons that we've all heard about in the past are showing up again.
what? Walking around the street, or in anywhere in particular?
More in some catacomb areas.
Makes sense.
Close to our establishment.
It's good to know. Is this a frequent thing for you, or?
First in a long time, but I think it has something to do with the gray coats walking around, the racing securities, the more spiritual activity that there is. I'll take my steps to investigate it further, but I think both of us working on it together, mutual information sharing is probably in the best interest of both of us.
And she nods and makes another note. I very
And
much.
then clarification, out of all the things that have people seen, the only thing that was shared that I know of is that there was a gray coat talking to somebody and said, what? I did my part, and then something bad happened, right?
A spirit warden. You do know, you've heard of that, yeah.
I haven't heard of anything else. Maybe I'll talk because no one's shared information. The other thing is check your contacts with the spirit wardens, because I think that they have something to do with the bad things that are going to be happening around here.
She nods
We have
slowly.
information of the spirit warden talking with some sort of shady figure. Obviously not doing what spirit wardens are hired to do. Almost seem like working against what they're supposed to be doing.
She laughs. She's like, talking to shady people is kind of what happens here, but I take your point.
Consorting and conspiring with, opposed to almost condoning what you shouldn't be doing, is what it seems like.
Well, I've made my notes. I will get you your information. And she leans sort of to the side and looks past you. Your friend's waiting.
He's always waiting.
And Thomas is propped up by the door, looking very fed up. But he's there.
All right, well, I appreciate your time as always. We'll be in contact. You know how to get a hold of me.
I do. And you me.
And we can just say that the conversation went back a little before. I would engage in small talk just to piss off Thomas a little more. But at the main thing, I just want us all. We can just fast forward to us all getting to the Demmer sisters.
You would have heard Thomas say, and then he would have just knocked something over until you probably noticed. He's not very subtle. But I will say both your carriages can pull up at almost the same time. In fact, Spurs, Rajani, and Blue, yours pulls up first as you start to pile out. You notice this other carriage arrive with 2 for 1, and Thomas steps out the back as well.
How did we beat you here?
You're just lucky, I guess.
And Thomas, what a lovely surprise to see you out and about.
I was invited.
You guys make a very cute pair. What a date.
He sort of like snarls his lip and he walks forward towards the Dimmer sisters. This huge manor house.
None of that.
And there's this, you're outside this manor. And it is huge. This building you've been to before. You will have all definitely been to the Dimmer sisters before. As I said, they don't leave their home. You know that they are, or at least most people call them witches, and said that they bathe in blood and they are one of your clients. And it's also very much, you know, they hold parties to speak to people. They don't invite people one by one. They like to watch people and see how they react under certain situations. You can almost guide yourself in. There's almost like a path up, huge gates which are open and closed behind you. There's a couple of guards that are purely there for the Dimmer sisters. These are not blue coats. These are their own. You can see them in very smart red jackets. And they look to you, they give you a nod. And as you get closer and closer to this house, you see the lights sort of blazing through these huge windows. You can hear music on the inside and what sounds like conversation, what sounds like socializing. And there's a sort of warmth coming from this place. And how would you all approach? You just stroll forward. You can see 2 more guards by the door as they are holding open these huge, very ornately carved double doors.
Well, these are our allies, right? We know
Correct.
for a fact. So yeah, I think Rajani feels pretty confident to just stroll in there.
I would walk up to the group first, kind of like meet at the carriages, and just kind of like see if we can gather around for a second and just say, do we have these are our allies, of course. Do we have any information that any of us feels uncomfortable sharing if we're asked? We don't have to lie.
I'm planning on maybe talking to them a bit, but I sort of want to see what they know and how they feel before I give them certain information.
The only thing I would say is I wouldn't mention the name of the guy we just met, because I think the Dimmer sisters, much like yourself, may not be super fond of spirit wardens. But other than that, I think we can tell them anything.
You guys went and talked to a spirit warden?
Unfortunately. He was quite nice, actually. You're right.
Yeah, a lovely retired family friend. Didn't really learn anything other than that we should be on the lookout for something called a spirit well, and that might be where the demon came from, and it might have just opened itself up in our catacombs.
Definitely the possibility that some of the wardens are making paths beyond their comprehension. It's unclear. When Rajani and I were investigating the stiff by the river, one of the wardens said he'd done his part, and then it was time for someone else to do theirs. Someone else gutted them.
You shared that already. You did share that part. That's the only information. That's the only ways I know. So you already shared that. So we're obviously not going to lie to our allies. We can simply just tell them we're uncomfortable sharing information at this time. Is there anything, Rajani, you obviously have a lot of things you experienced and you want to see what they know before sharing certain things. So we'll defer to you when it comes to any of the girl or the dwarf or the girl or the shopkeeper that you dealt with, or the thing that was in the catacombs.
There was something else. I'm not sure if I did tell you all. There's a lot has happened. I'm sorry. And she kind of lowers her voice, assuming we're sort of like gathered up alone together, but she still lowers her voice a little bit. The spirit that I connected with in the catacombs, the not trying to kill us one, the same one I saw when I was heading back with Spurs back to the 13th floor. The first time I saw her when I was out on the streets, she said something about how she had seen them in the mirror, but wouldn't specify who they were, and that the energy farms are failing. And she showed me spirits of some kind breaking through the lightning barriers.
Blue's really alarmed at the mention that the energy farms are failing, in particular.
Well, so I guess we're all on the same page that we're not afraid to share any information with them unless it comes to any of the supernatural things that you've been personally dealing with, Rajani, and that's at your discretion to share.
Okay. Yeah, I just sort of want to see their reaction to things incrementally rather than divulging everything at the same time, you know? Yeah. Well, we'll start with what we came here for originally, and if things lead on to that, then they do. And if we're here the better.
We're here because they actually want to talk to us, right? We got invited to come here. The letter didn't say why or anything, right, Alice?
Oh yeah, they sent us a letter. Sorry, I thought we were coming here to talk to them about.
They sent us an invitation, so
yeah.
I'm guessing they want to drink with us. They might be a little surprised that we have some serious business to discuss.
Out of character, I got mixed up with a different thing. Sorry.
Well, we'll let the Demo Sisters lead the conversation then, and then if it comes to it, certain things we're willing to share. Supernatural is at Rajani's discretion, and don't mention your old family contact. Understandable. And do we mention we have a theft problem?
I think we can. We've been working with them for months without incident.
I'd imagine they're I don't know what their whole situation is, but they do work around the arcane, and if the defenses that they up in the first place are failing, I for one would like to have a heart-to-heart about that.
Yeah, they could have called us here to talk to us about the same thing happening to them. We don't know.
All right. Well, after you all then, let's go. Come on, Thomas.
he sort of like pushes himself off of the side of the wall where he's walked in, and he's
Yeah, we would have shooed him away when we had our little huddle powwow.
Yeah, I think he's used to it, but he sort of just rolls his eyes and he walks straight past all of you, straight into this
Oh,
party.
fifth wheel.
Have we all met the Dimmer sisters in person, or have
You will
which
have all
one of us
met
have?
you will have all met the Dimmer sisters. They're very much about knowing everyone in the business. What I can tell you is that you know Margaretti and Anastasia. Margaretti tends to go by Marge half the time. She doesn't really go up, but they're very smiley. They're very big on being very, very good hosts. They tend to be very, very open with all of their business partners, but you know that everyone at this party, maybe as some people may have never interacted with them before. This is how they work people out. This is how they watch how people behave. They like nice things. You do know them, or at least the rumors that they are witches, and they deal with very much a similar side of things that you do. And you know they mix with a lot of people like that.
Would we maybe have been to one of these before before we worked with them?
Before you worked with them, you would have absolutely been invited.
As sort of like an initiation into being permitted to work with them.
It's very much a test of them seeing the people they know and the people they want to know.
You made it to the cool kids club.
We can sit with them.
So Dabo will just kind of like brush his shoulder and walk after the rest of them. Like he motions for them all to go first. And Thomas,
and you will walk in, and you step into at first this huge, very elaborate hallway. 2 huge staircases, curved, going up. Blue, you may have been used to this sort of layout before. And you can see huge marble stone floors. There's a lot of oil paintings up on the wall. There's a lot of just very much signs of wealth. And as soon as you walk in, you are met by 2 people in these red jackets that hold out these silver trays with crystal glass sort of flutes full of champagne and other forms of drink, and they sort of just smile to you and hold it out.
I will take one. The Dimmer sisters really know how to throw a party.
Does anyone else take one?
I'll take one.
I'll take one.
We've done this before, so we know the performance.
It's very much, you know, when you enter, you get given a drink. There's obviously there seems to very much be an never-ending flow of food, drink, and everything here. You see 2 more white double doors, which you have this motion as you step in. You can hear the music. You can hear the sort of string quartets and a harp playing in the corner. There's a huge ice sculpture and lots of jellies and crystallized fruits and things like that all piled up on some of the tables around. Huge over the top sort of bouquets put in these very, very large vases of blue and white. As you enter this room, you also see harlequins and acrobats sort of moving around the room itself with these ribbons as they throw them up into the air. You can see almost like trapeze artists on these with nets above you, this huge ceiling in this manor. Everything here is over the top. And there are a lot of people here. A lot of people. And you also know the Dimmer sisters are twins. And there's a feel of everyone here is in their best attire. Everyone wants to impress the Dimmer sisters because they do provide lots of opportunity for work and probably social standing as well. I will say you can see one of them You know Anastasia is across the room. She seems to be in sort of a crowd of people that are trying to talk to her, and I'll say you've known her long enough to recognize a sweet, very fake smile that she sort of reserves for people she doesn't know. But what would you all like to do?
I'm gonna go walk over to her and bail her out of that conversation.
Okay.
Like as subtle as I always am, walk right into the crowd, offer my hand and be like, sorry for the delay. My tardiness is not permitted. I know you needed my time. We can talk right now if that suits you.
And she smiles, and you can see she has very, very, very pale skin, but you think half of that is makeup. A lot of it is very much very dark hair that is sort of folded up into this sort of trails of ringlets as she smiles, and you can see those very red rosy cheeks that are very painted on, and she smiles and takes your hand. Is like, excuse me, my friends, I'll be back in a moment. And she takes your hand, and in this gown allows you to lead her away from this group. And she walks past someone with a tray and takes a glass herself. What are the rest of you doing?
I'm going to take a lap around the room, kind of like flitting in and out of different conversations. And I'm trying to eavesdrop a bit and keep an ear out for anyone mentioning theft issues, spirit wells, and demon incursions. Yeah. And just see if anyone's talking about anything that we've experienced.
Okay. You can sort of move around and you wander through. You see a lot of well-to-do people there. Some of them...
and I can make a survey roll if you want.
Yeah, I was going to say, could you make a survey roll just to see if there's anything?
Controlled standard?
Yes, please. Look, ooh, my Roll20 is just free. 4. Okay, you start to move around the room. And you hear whispers of everything. If anything, it more seems to be, you know, a controversy of, you know, is someone's mistress is here, or it seems to be a lot more social standing, things like that, more than anything else. I will say, however, as you survey, you notice one woman watch you as you go.
By the way, I'm definitely going to make a mental note because I love information like this. I'm like, okay, this person has a mistress. This person is having an affair with this person. This is all.
You hear some definitely talking about money issues as well, and you think they're here to try and get more business because they're having problems and things like that.
And then I'm going to look at the woman who has been watching me. Can I spot her?
You can definitely spot her. If anything, you look like she's trying to make eye contact with you.
I'll walk over and talk to her.
Okay. Spurs, where are you in this? What would you be doing?
I think Spurs, this is not his element. And he doesn't really know how to act. He's mostly about action and survival. And the second that you have to take a step back and just like relax and be in the moment, like he's not sure what to do himself. So I think he's a little fidgety. He's like, take a sip from the drink, walk around, like run a hand from along the balcony. Like, this is an interesting piece of art. I don't really understand why people like this kind of art. Sip, put the drink down, like twiddle thumbs, and just finally like focus on something. I have to be useful here. So I think he goes to find like the best vantage point in the whole area, high balcony or something, and just like leans, arms folded over, and just takes it in and turns his brain off into like, this is a tactical situation and I'm going to survey it. And that's the way that he chooses to interact with his party. If like people come by and like bump into him, he like whips around like
Could you roll a survey for me, please?
Sure. I'd love nothing more than that. Where did I put the tab with my roll?
What's in those
There it
drinks in
is.
your
What
tray?
do I do with my hands? Normal
Right.
That awkward,
hand
like-
motions.
I kind of picture someone
Hand
walking by with a
things.
tray of food.
Yeah.
And first grabs one, then he's like, just
Yeah.
give me the tray. Just give me the whole tray.
Rolled, yeah.
No, that's you,
Yes,
Dabo.
please.
You're the
Yes,
one who
please.
touches everything.
Touch every single entree before picking up the one he actually
Nice.
wants.
Okay. I will say you've managed to sort of look, and you're again surveying the whole area. You're getting to have a bit of a look around. You recognize quite a few people. They've got money. Some of them are even clients of yours. You've seen them come in and out. You have a pretty good view from up here. You see a lot of the bizarre paintings and oil paintings around here. You know, everything in here is worth money. There's no fakes. There's no nothing. I will also say you can see the person Blue is walking towards, sort of beelining across the dance floor effectively towards. But Rajani, what are you doing?
Kind of like Spurs, this is not Rajani's element whatsoever, but unlike Spurs, she does not care. So she's just sort of waiting for Dabo to come back with whichever dimmer sister it was that he went to, and she's just like taking all the food, all the drinks, just like shoving the food in her mouth, leaning against the valuable like painting, just like waiting basically, and maybe taking a look around and seeing if there are any people here she recognizes just out of interest.
You
but
recognize very much like Spurs does some of the just one or two of your customers here. As you're sort of picking it through, it is like that glacé like fruit that's been covered in sugar. Yeah, like hurts your teeth when you bite into it, kind of sugary. And you hear a voice you recognize of Margaret, the other dimmer sister. Again, very much like her sister, very, very pale. You see those rosy cheeks. You feel like the color's been put there so they look healthier, rather than they're just very, very pale. They don't go outside. It's not something they do. But she gives you that sickly, sweet smile and pulls up another tray of what look like these oranges in the sugar and holds it out as, these are delightful.
Yeah, they really are. And she just takes like 5 in one handful and shoves them in her
She
face.
smiles and laughs, and you can see she's dressed almost identical to her sister. You've known them long enough to know which one's which. They both wear beauty spots. You know they're fake. And the only way you can tell is they wear them on opposite cheeks. And she smiles at you. Have you tried the wine?
No, not yet.
You should. It's good.
Oh wait, sorry, am I being dumb? Was that what we were handed when we came in, or was that a
No,
different drink?
that was the champagne.
Okay.
This is
All right.
something different. But I can get one for you if you would.
Oh,
like.
yes, please. Yeah.
And she sort of snaps her fingers, and immediately 2 people with a tray come over, and she takes 2 glasses off, hands one to you, takes your champagne glass away and puts it on the tray and raises up with a smile and clinks your glass.
Yeah, does it in return?
Thank you for accepting our invitation. We would like to talk to you at some point. I believe your friend over there has found my other sister, and
Yeah, I was actually
rescued
waiting for you to get
her
back.
from those. Yes. And she sort of frowns towards the group of people that were sort of swarming.
Were they first
Around
time
her.
invitees by any chance?
Yes.
And I guess they won't be coming back.
At least 3 of them won't. You never know. And she smiles. It's like, please follow me. We shall congregate with your friend and my sister.
Yes, of course.
And she leads you off to the side in the direction of Dabo. And Blue, you're approaching this woman as she smiles. She's dressed very, very well. And she's got this very bright red hair. And she looks at you. Hello. I saw you observing.
Oh, I like to take a quick lap of every party before you settle in, as my mother used to teach me. I love your dress. You look absolutely ravishing.
And she looks you up and down for a moment. You can see, if anything, I'll say she looks tired, like she's got bags under her eyes, but there's still that very much sweet, smiley face on her. And she said, thank you. It's one of my favorites, and you look wonderful as well.
Can I tell if she means it or she's being
She does
sarcastic?
mean it. If anything, it looks like she's trying to, when someone has a dry throat, when they've been like talking for too long or something like that, you get that sense as if she's trying to not struggle to talk, but she looks at you and smiles. She looks slightly awkward in this place. You think half of this is her standing out because no one is talking to her. But she smiles. I'm Amelia Crowfield. It is a pleasure to meet you.
You can call me Blue. All my friends do. These parties can be a bit exhausting, don't you think?
There's a lot of people here and a lot of things around, yes.
And how do you know our lovely hostesses?
Oh, I'm here with my brother.
Oh, and who's your brother?
Carlisle. He should be here somewhere. I haven't actually seen him yet, but he's such a social butterfly, and then I get left on my own, and as you can see, and she sort of gestures to the empty space around her.
Out of character, if he's a social butterfly, do I know the Crowfoot family, or do I know Carlisle by reputation?
You have heard of the Crowfield family. It's not necessarily a super high up family. You know that the father died maybe a year or so ago, more than anything else, but they're merchants, but not high level merchants. They're just business people more than anything. And they deal with more sort of like products like silks and things like that, the nice things that come in. So there is definitely a market for it. You guess probably the reason she's dressed so well is because it's half of it is the products they
Well, that's very bad form on his part to abandon you like this.
What are you guys
what are your dealings with the Dimmer sisters?
And she sort of pauses. Well, you can see the dresses they're wearing. My design.
Wow.
Thank you. And she smiles again. I'm not very good at the business side of things. I'm more of the creator and designer.
We don't have to role play out the whole thing, but Blue is fascinated and wants to talk her new friend into designing her a dress or giving her a discount of some kind on like fancy garments. I've completely forgotten the original mission. And I'm definitely going to take at least 15 minutes to like butter her up, shit talk her brother, and talk to her about her designs. Do I think she's being honest with me about that being the real reason for being here?
You could roll a I'll say either
I can also tell when
people tell when people are lying.
Yeah.
She's not lying to you about this business.
Okay. Okay, in that case, I'd like to roll a maybe like consort or sway just to befriend her and get her on my side. Sway, I guess?
Yeah, I was gonna say a sway more than anything.
Okay.
And it is controlled and standard.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm rolling like crap today.
You do befriend her. She doesn't seem like super chummy, but you're not too sure if that's because of the situation or you're not. She does look awkward here. but she does sort of give you those smiles. She's always like, you know, you should come by sometime. We can talk more about these sorts of things. And she sort of tells you where she's based, and things like that. You can see Rajani moving with one of the Dimmer sisters towards where Dabu is also leading the other one. But yes, sorry.
I'm gonna look around. Do I see Spurs?
Spurs, how subtle are you being? Are you trying to be?
I don't think he's hiding. He's like just like doesn't want to be in the thick of it. Just like I need space to breathe. So he's like, if you look around, you could probably see like he's very clearly alone on the balcony, just like a hawk just looming over everything.
So maybe you know that Spurs doesn't like events like this, so you know to look
like,
up rather than
where
down.
everyone else isn't. That's where you'll find him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look up and try and make eye contact with Spurs and give him a little wave, and I'm gonna say to Amelia, you know, Amelia, I have I've got a wonderful friend here with me who isn't a huge fan of crowds and parties either. I think you guys might like each other, and I'm gonna lead her to Spurs.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
And she sort of
I think you should meet him, and I'm gonna like drag her to him.
And she sort of smiles for a moment, and she looks to you, like, please lead the way. And you sort of start to move through this crowd towards the staircase when she says, oh, there's my brother. And she points up towards where Spurs is. And Spurs, you can see a very finely dressed man walking towards you. And he leans on the balcony very much like you do. Not super close, but he does lean there. He's like, you don't like parties?
Just taking it all in. It's a little stifling down there.
Crowded, as he sort of like sort of tenses his brow. I am Carlisle Crowfield. It is nice to meet you.
He stands up and like straightens his jacket and goes to shake his hand. I'm Roshan.
It is good to meet you. And he holds out his hand, and as you take his hand, your nose fills with the scent of rose petals as he shakes your hand firmly and gives you a smile. And I think that's where we'll leave it this week. Ready for more party goings next week. So, yes, thank you to our lovely players today. Please go check all of these lovely faces out. Otherwise, please check out all the links that are coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We have a channel specifically just for this one. So we'd love to hear what you think and what you think of the characters. Also, if you have missed out on any, you can head over to YouTube. We put all of our games in playlists so you can watch them all to your heart's content. If you want to get into a game, head over to Twitter and drop Scrat a DM, and we will get you on the list and we'll get you into a game. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors, which I'm about to try not drop the book. First of all, in the form of the Deck of Many, with the Deck of Many Things and their magic moving spell cards, which are, I love them. I think they're really, really. Also, the creators of Humblewood, which is the viewer game you can sign up for, and it comes up next. It's incredibly wholesome. It is the opposite of this game. Also, the wonderful Hero Forge that do the 3D printed colored minis, which is some really awesome stuff coming. And we'll be working more and more with them in future, which I'm excited about. And last but certainly not least, also Dark Matter, or Mayhem Press. You may have seen us run their Fae Folio over here yesterday, and Dark Matter is one of my favorites. It is D&D in space, so if you, as Scrat says, want to yeet your D&D characters into space, this is one of the best ways to do it. Otherwise, keep evoking emotions, and we'll see you next week. Bye.